All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another Latitude live stream. We're uh, excited to be with you again today, and things are as they should. Once again, we're back in the murder shed, not in some Airbnb. Our team had a successful offsite last week, and um, we are back into kind of business as usual. But want to first start by introducing uh, my I'm trying to, I was gonna say guests. I don't feel like guests. You're part of the
Colleagues,
team.
coworkers. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what to call y'all. Um, the people here with me. Uh, so
We're
we'll start.
friends, Devin.
So
We're
why do you want to go
friends.
first, then David?
Yeah.
It's been long enough.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
I'd like you to meet
totally.
my friends.
Oh, there we go.
Thank you. Now it feels more formal. I'm Wyatt. I just joined Latitude actually back in November now. I'm our new tech recruiter on the team, helping build our recruitment function from the ground up. And yeah, just trying to make sure that we can continue to build this awesome culture that we already have and um, keeping the bar elevated for hiring and all that fun stuff. I'm a family man, mountain biker, and I'm gonna do a crazy hike this weekend. Hopefully, I don't die. So this may be the last you see of me. Other than that, yeah, no, it's exciting to be here. Enjoyed
First
it.
and last, better make it count.
Yeah, no doubt, no pressure.
Yeah, and I'm David, otherwise known as Maverick on the Discord. Um, I've been with Latitude since the beginning, early 2020 when the company started, and even before that, being involved with founder Nick, and um, yeah, I've been through the journey, through the ups and downs, and I think we'll talk a little bit about that today. But yeah, I am also a family man. I've got three kids, all teenagers, and um, yeah, life's good. I, yeah,
Awesome. It's. I'm glad that I know we got a chance to have you on briefly, David, when we kind of had to meet the team last
yeah, that's
week.
right. Yeah,
But I think
last
it's
week.
overdue for you to be back on a version of the live stream from kind of like this season of live streams, if you will. We did live streams of a sort many years ago, but not
Yeah,
recently.
yeah. I actually used to run the live stream many years ago, and
Oh dang.
we used to play AI Dungeon. Just hop on for an hour once a week and play with the community, and yeah, we had good times. But it's been probably like 3 4 years since then. So yeah,
And he had a
Yeah,
birthday recently too.
yeah. Last week.
Yeah.
cool. Well, one of the things we wanted to so part of what we want to talk about today is the team, which is a little bit funny because I don't think this is a subject that we uh, naturally think to talk about a lot. Um, one of the kind of it was interesting. I think it was maybe about a year ago. We had a bunch of changes happen on the team. We had some known people on our team leave, and we had a couple new hires, and we were just starting to kind of hire a bunch of people in anticipation of building Voyage and getting all that going. So we did a post on Reddit, kind of outlining a little bit of the team and the structure, and it ended up being one of our more um, upvoted Reddit posts that we'd done, which was kind of surprising because it seemed like such a ordinary, maybe even like boring or mundane post. But I think people enjoyed hearing about the team, the size of the team, the structure of the team, and so I think the goal here is to just share a little bit about the team, and maybe it's interesting to people, and if not, well, we tried. We we, we took a pass. But from my perspective, I think the team has gone through like these different evolutions and different phases that have aligned with sort of the career of the company, and that's why David, I'm glad you're here to kind of. I mean, some of these phases predate me, and we haven't coordinated on this, so we may even have different phases in our mind. But I think the company kind of went through these different stages of growth and what we were focused on, and that shaped the team that we have. And then I think that leads us into like today. I want to, and with Wyatt here, I want to make sure we talk about like what the team looks like now, and what we think the team is going to look like as we kind of continue with the voyage launch and into the next few years. So that's sort of like the outline and the schedule for the rough outline for today, the schedule. But David, maybe we start with talking a little bit. Like for me, the first phase that I would think of is sort of like this should be maybe this is a business phase, right? Where
Yeah.
Nick and Alan and you and there was a small group of people that kind of there was some initial traction with the first and second version of AI Dungeon, and it went from like a hackathon project to a real thing, and that felt like the first phase to me. I'm curious if you agree with that. Like, tell us what did the team
Yeah.
look like then? What was the dynamic like?
I mean, before the team, I mean, the hackathon project was summer 2019 or the end of the school year 2019, right? And I, I played it back then. And
Dang.
it was silly, right? AI was pretty dumb and couldn't even hold anything coherent. So it was literally just like dumb output, and it was like a cool trick, It was like funny. And then GPT-2 came out in the fall, and Nick posted it up on Colab, and that's when it blew up, right? And so Colab people found it, and people just a community just formed like it overnight, and it was exciting and scary all at the same time. It was like, wait, what do we do? We kind of blew up Colab. That Google freaked out and was like, no, we can't host this here anymore. And overnight, the community put it up on torrent, like Get Torrent, and all,
Dang.
all sorts of stuff surrounding this, just to keep it alive, just to keep AI Dungeon running. And that's when it was like, oh, people really want this. Like, okay, we need to make something. And so over the next couple months, we really tried to build things out. And I was running my own company at the time, apart from AI Dungeon, and I wasn't fully involved at that point. But I was like, I'm happy to help, like where I can. And so Nick and Alan, his brother, were pulling on me a little bit. And they, because I was able to help, I think that's where I kind of got my foot in the door, right? And when it came time to actually form the team in the beginning of 2020, it was like, okay, let's go. So I was one of the original six people on the team, and from there it was just go go go, and everything went straight. Like, you know some people complain about the stability of AI Dungeon now, and everything, but back then it was the Wild West. Like, everything we pushed went straight to production. So we would break production almost a daily basis. The app would go down, things would stop working. It was just very normal, and the community kind of just rolled with it, and were really great back then, and actually loved. We had a great community back then, and we have a great community now, but in between we've had some rough times. Um, but yeah, it was just wild times, because something would break, and then we would have it fixed 5 minutes later, and then a few hours later we'd break something again, and we just that's just how it went. And it was fun times, and then we had a few months later where things we hit some growing pains.
Yeah. So like, um, and maybe the sequencing, you'll have to kind of help me out with a little bit, David. But I think probably the next kind of big shift in the team probably came around when there was some initial like angel funding, angel investment that happened. I think fueled a lot of kind of team growth, and it went from essentially a couple buddies trying to make something happen to, okay, now we're a company, now we're going to hire, now we're going to grow, and now we're going to do this thing. So that felt like another shift that happened that felt significant. Maybe, and if I'm wrong about that bucketing, let me know. But like, curious, like what that transition felt like when that started happening.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm noticing in the comments, production beta alpha. Now things only break weekly instead of every few
It's
hours,
so
right?
much
So
better. Yeah. I will say when also like breaking um, is different today than it was then. Like,
breaking is very different. Like literally the whole app would go down.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
you literally could
Dang.
not play
We've
at
got.
all.
We'll be the first to admit we've got some bugs, but it's far
It's
from
a
the issues we've
different
had in the
level of
past.
bugs for sure.
Yeah, yeah,
Different level of bugs, different level of polish.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, Devin, you're talking about the investment, and we started hiring really fast, and when GPT-3 came out, that was another big like huge moment because we became basically the main providers to the public of GPT-3. Because at the time there was no chat GPT, right? There was nowhere that people could access these AI models through a user interface that's easily accessible. And AI Dungeon really became the first place that people could access a model that was as powerful as GPT-3, which GPT-3, like GPT-2 was a threshold, but it was still like it couldn't it was still pretty gimmicky, you know. And then but GPT-3 came out and it's like, "Oh, this thing can actually like make story." And this is actually fun and interesting that it can carry this on. And so people were, but we had a massive part of our community that was actually just kind of tech bros who were really interested in the tech, who were really excited about what LLMs could do. And 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 so we had a lot of our community that was made up of that. And you know that came with its own set of challenges and interesting things, but we were trying to hire, trying to grow, and we were young, and we there was a lot we didn't know about how to hire the right people, and so we actually hired some people who we you know who had great resumes, great things, but they didn't understand the culture we were trying to build, right? To put it mildly. And we had some things happen that and some people that just were not pushing the company in the direction we wanted.
yeah. And I mean that definitely had an impact on like uh, when OpenAI, essentially strongly requested, mandated, you know, the implementation of filters, and then they had their data labeling leak and things like that. Uh, the team that was there at the time, I think that had an impact on how the company managed that incident, and that was
Massive impact because we brought in some people that were supposed to be experts as far as like public relations and legal and how we're supposed to handle incidents, right? When an incident happens. So we had incidents in those early days, and a lot of it was because of OpenAI. You know, they were a young company as well. They were super young, and we were all young, and we're all trying to figure things out. And so OpenAI is trying to figure things out. We're trying to figure things out, and you know, it was there. You know, it was a tornado of things happening, and they made mistakes. We made mistakes. Everybody, you know, we all made mistakes. It was not anybody's direct fault, but on how everything went down. But we had our big mistake. Honestly, was that we kind of cut off the community and stopped communicating. And you know, we take ownership for that at this point, but it was not the right choice, and we hope we've learned from that. You know, at this point where we try to be really transparent, and Devin's been an awesome advocate of that, among others on the team. But it was hard when we were told, "Don't talk to the community. That's dangerous. You might get, you know, legal trouble and all of this." And we're like, "Oh, well, we don't want that. We're a young company, and we don't know what we're doing." Okay, right? So
yeah, yeah. I have empathy for what y'all went through because uh, it's one thing if you're starting a business and there's other businesses like you out there that you can look at and point to and be like, these guys did it this way, great, let's follow that playbook. But there was no playbook for what y'all went through, and that made it hard. And I mean, as frustrating as it was for some of the things that OpenAI did, I have some empathy for them too because there's no playbook for that either. Um, so it was a tough time, and I'm grateful that despite where things went, we were able to come out of it, and as you said, lessons were learned. And I think one thing that has become a part of our company culture is we don't like to make the same mistake twice. And uh, whenever something bad goes, whenever something happens, whether it's a mistake or whether it's in our control or outside of our control, we try to learn and adjust and adapt to make sure it doesn't happen again, because we just don't want to have that. Like, I mean, from our perspective, I think we owe it to our players to make sure that like we're not going to fumble the same way twice. So grateful that we
That's
made
right.
it through
Well,
that.
and gratefully we have an awesome community that does hold us accountable, that does,
Yeah,
speak up, and we know that, I think we know very clearly that when the community's upset, it's because they love what we're doing. It's not because they hate us. It's not because it's like, man, yeah, they really love the AI Dungeon. They really love Voyage, what we're creating with AI games, and so we want to live up to that, right?
yeah. Well, let's go to the next phase. Um, I'm gonna give this a name that I don't know if is appropriate or not. I'm gonna call it the refounding, because I think in the aftermath of the stuff with OpenAI, there's also the like the team had built like there was this idea that maybe that Latitude would turn into this game studio, and they had hired this a number of kind of people from the games industry to build and grow that out, and that didn't really work and pan out. Um, but kind of around that time, I think was when we hired Ryan. He was first, and then a few months later, I came in. So I think I was around during this time, and we were still recovering from the OpenAI stuff, and for a long time things were not looking good. We had to go through several rounds of layoffs. Um, Money was a concern, and it didn't always look like we were going to make it through. And we had to kind of get lean. We had to really figure out like who we were, what we were about, how do we give value to players, and that was sort of a moment for us to kind of, I think, really figure out who we were, and our backs were up against the wall. We had to figure it out.
Yeah.
Um, Curious, like as you think back on when we went through some of that, David, um, how does that PTSD trauma rear its head for you? Because I know how it does for me.
I mean, I think I already expressed one of my biggest things from and learnings that it's just like we can't hide from our community. We can't hide from our users. It's so important that we're like working together on this. Like I really feel that, to me, that is the biggest PTSD I have, is just like our users are so important to what we are. They are part of this company in such a big way, and when we tried to push them out, and when we've tried to like totally alienate ourselves from them, every time we've done anything like that or pushed in that direction, that's when things have really gone south and really hurt. And so I think for me, that's one of my biggest things, that I'm just like, we need to be careful, and obviously, like, there's some direction, there's some vision that I think as a company we need to maintain and push forward on. But all the way along, we're working together on this.
Yeah, yeah. It was a really tough time. I remember, but I think what was interesting is as we went through some of that, we had a few. We started to collect some learning as a team and as a company,
Yeah.
and we started to figure a few things out, and we didn't have all of the answers, but I think it was probably, I'm going to say, like close to the end of like 2022 ish. I think it was like, uh, I think we kind of finally we saw a path. We're like, oh, we can navigate through this. There's a way through. Um, and that was around the time that we did the Unchained launch. We got rid of ads. We had for the first time we were able to offer an unlimited free player experience. Prior to that, the free tier always had some sort of limit. You had to stop some way. We used to we have used sorry we used to have something called energy that was annoying. Um, and then we went to ads, and that was a thing. But this was almost like, we see a path. So we got rid of ads. We doubled down, and we started fixing a bunch of bugs. That was the start of the redesign that we called Phoenix. And I remember seeing that we had kind of figured these things out as a team, and going like, okay, this is exciting. I remember being in the community with our moderators and helpers, and our moderators and helpers, like in Discord and Reddit, are some of our most passionate players, but they were often frustrated as well. And I remember sharing with them, I was like, things are going to get good. And I remember they didn't have a lot to believe. I mean, they
No,
didn't. There was
the
not a lot of
trust was so
trust.
broken. The trust was so gone.
And I said, I just remember pleading, hang in there. This is going to get better. I know that you have no reason to trust us, but just hang in there. We have figured a few things out. And sure enough, kind of at the end of that year, we had been on this slow decline. And I mean, we were even unsure if we were going to have a longer term future for Latitude, but slowly, like, things just started turning.
Yeah.
And then there was like this recovery window where we kind of had this really lean team. Again, we'd gone through all these layoffs. We were really lean, but we were growing. And during that phase is when Nick started prototyping Heroes, which is now uh, becoming Voyage. And what was interesting about that is that largely we kind of created a space for him to go and do what he does best, just do his discovery. So the rest of the company, we were trying to just kind of keep things moving, and things kept growing and growing and
Yeah.
growing. Like, I remember we launched a creator program, and I was like, let's set some metrics that are gonna be really, really hard to hit. And I think we had like, 5 or 6 top creators, and maybe like a dozen kind of other creators. And then over like the next 2 or 3 years, like, suddenly we had like 300 or 400 top creators. Like, it was insane. Like, things grew like crazy. Um, but
Can
that has meant some changes as well. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead, David.
Yeah, I'd love to ask you a question just before we go too much further.
Hmm.
Um, I am curious because we were in a very desperate position as a company, right? And that's why ads rolled out. That's why we did energy, was like the costs were up here and we're like not pulling in money. We're just burning money, as a company. And part of that was because we had too many employees, and so we did have to start like cutting employees, which is always hard, and that feels
Yeah.
awful, right? It
Yeah.
always feels, because people have families, and you don't want to see that happen. But it became very clear that like some people were just not a fit for what we were trying to create and what we were building. Um, and so I'm really curious, as we were in that space of just like desperation, and we have ads, and ads initially did pay off to some degree, right? And so it brought in some money, but I think we did see the fall off from that, and maybe that's what I'm answering my own question, but um of just like how did you see that vision of like, okay, what is going to actually turn this ship around? Because to me that was like a moment, it was brilliant, and I don't think I saw very well. I don't think I was in a position. I was just trying to maintain AI Dungeon at that point, just like, okay, let's keep AI Dungeon alive, and that was my focus at that time, and I was not in the strategic place like you and Nick and Ryan were. And so I'm interested in hearing a little bit more about that.
Yeah. How dare you Uno reverse and ask me a question? Um, yeah, I think it was a combination of things. Um, I'll say there's like, I think there's maybe like kind of three key things I'll point to. One of them was Nick found this book called oh shoot, now it just there's a book. Oh gosh, dang it!
Is
What's
it
the
the
book?
failure one?
Yes, The Logic of
Um,
Failure. Thank you,
yeah.
The Logic of Failure. And I, it was literally like in my head the whole time David was talking, then it just disappeared
Love
I'm
that.
old now. Um, but in The Logic of Failure, it breaks down complex systems, and it highlights how people generally don't have a deep enough understanding of multiple systems that interact with each other. And it has these different simulations that it talks about, and it kind of walks through like they did these simulations of like you're in charge of like of a village in Africa, and you can kind of change the water situation or the population, and how people would like initially have initial success, and then it would kind of fall out because they didn't understand the consequences of some of the changes that they were making. And I think what that did was it helped us to kind of think more long term and start to think about AI Dungeon and the company and the community as this set of very complex systems that interact with each other. And um, to the comment I made about like we don't like making the same mistake twice actually comes in a lot here, because every time we uh, a mistake happened, or even if we did something good, we were starting to build this understanding of the complex systems that is a dungeon, the community, the business, the market, and we're starting to get a clearer picture of how all those things work together. So that was actually one, is like we're starting to kind of see the picture go from really fuzzy, we don't quite understand it. Why is this thing breaking? Why is this happening? To like, we push here and this happens. And so we started to see it work. The second one I'll point to, I'll give Nick credit for, is we became inspired by companies like Costco, and one of the things with Costco is they are very focused on customer value, to the point where like they have policies in place that are basically anti-profit, because it's like if we're extracting too much value from our customers, then it means we're not doing enough for them and they'll go somewhere else. And so we became obsessed, and it took some time to kind of work it into our culture and our team, but we became obsessed with user value and how can we make sure that everything that we do is giving value to our users. And we started to think about that all the time and talk about it all the time. We this is part of that logic of failure, the complex systems. We said, you know what, if we do right by our players, we may not always see it or how it's going to work out, but we know that it'll work out long term for us if we're constantly giving value to our players. We don't want to be stupid. Like we can't, like if in today's words, like we can't give everyone 128K of DeepSeek for free. We wouldn't have a company tomorrow. But we wanted to kind of push and give more and more value. And I'd say the third is we started to actually listen to players. I think for a long time we had been um, hearing players and responding. Well, at least after after I came in, and I know Ryan is doing some of this too. We were responding, but I even remember back in the early days, I felt like I was in the initial days. It was less of like listening, more of like, no, I'm trying to explain to you how we see things. And there was a moment where I felt a shift in myself. It was like, I need to be listening better. And then I started kind of like cataloging all the things that I was hearing from players, and pain points here and pain points there. And I started getting a really good sense of like, I think I know where the biggest pain points are for our community. And I wasn't the only one that had a handle on that, but I had a hand in it, to your point, David, like I was part of it. Um, and that a lot of those things turned into the Unchained release because we just had better insight. One that was interesting at the time is like we didn't have um, we didn't offer extended context length, and one of the things that we saw over and over and over again, like I look at the Reddit posts in particular. I just remember seeing all these Reddit posts like the AI always forgets my gender. The AI always forgets my character's name. The AI always forgets this, and it felt like this inadequacy of the system. And I realized like, people don't understand context, and they want more context. So we switched and we actually changed our monetization model so that you could pay to get more context. And suddenly people understood that if something was breaking, it was just because they didn't have enough context. And they, so then it wasn't like, oh, this thing sucks. It just is like, oh, I'm not on the right tier for what I want. Um, and it was giving people a much better experience that they wanted. And today, there is an insatiable demand for more context. But like there was a time where you couldn't pay money to get more context. So that's just like one indication of like, nobody at the time, no one was saying we want more context. They were just kind of complaining about what was breaking, which was made sense. But we started like listening, and not just like listening to what they were asking for, but like listening to the problems that we could solve for them, and then using our expertise to figure out how to deliver it. So I think it was those three things really that helped us to sort of turn around from just from that downward slide, and focusing on user value, um, understanding complex systems, and then really really listening to our community and responding. It's not enough to listen, you have to actually do something about it. So that was a long ramble. Sorry about that.
Great information. So,
You nailed it, dude.
um so maybe we should go into like where we're at today, because I think I mean, we went through this growth period, and uh, kind of fueled by the stuff that we're just talking about here. Like we were, the AI Dungeon product was better. We released a new redesign. The stability improved a lot. And again, I want to caveat that yes, for those of you that have bugs that you're dealing with, we are not saying we are bug free. We understand. We're listening and we're still working on those. However, it was a profound improvement in stability over what existed before. And in fact, things were so unstable with the old version that we actually couldn't even fix some of the bugs, because the very nature of trying to fix a bug would probably introduce three more. It was really hard. Um, so we had this new stable platform we could work from now, and we were constantly making improvements. We were adding in better AI models. We were expanding the amount of context, and we just were growing and growing and growing. And then as Nick started proving out the heroes prototype, and then we realized we need to make this the next big thing that the company is working on. We need a team to help bring this to reality. And I think that's the phase that we are in right now. Is like we went through a phase where we started hiring again, and for the purpose of trying to try to invest in Voyage, and that was created by the success that AI Dungeon brought, and helped us kind of set up for the future. I think that's where we're at now. I mean,
yeah.
I know I'm skipping over some details, but
Yeah. Obviously, there's stuff that happened in that growth period. But yeah, I mean, thanks to our like the players that joined and have been supporting us all the way along. It's just yeah, it's allowed us to fuel this continuation and us being able to innovate further with Voyage. And oh, it is so exciting. Somebody commented in the chat like, is it still exciting or has it lost a bit of its flame since like the early days? And I would say it's more exciting, right? And for me, it gets more and more exciting because I'm actually like I'm I'm a player. I really like 3D games. I'm a JRPG 3D, kind of player. I love things like Skyrim and, games along those lines, right? And so for me, the ultimate goal is like we can get to this place where it's literally just endless play in a space like that, but with real story, right? Because obviously you can have things like what is it, Starfield. Anyway, there's games now that are endless, but it's like generated, just but then there's no story along with that, right? And so Voyage is kind of this step into, oh, awesome, we actually have really awesome story with rules. Because my issue with AI Dungeon has always been like, okay, this is cool, but it feels more like a story collaboration, and some people love that full creative freedom, and it is fun. I still love it, but it's not where I ultimately want to be getting to, which is a world with rules, a world that has limits that I have to figure out and solve problems and build and create, my character and everything. And so we're just getting, yeah, I have been a tech enthusiast since the day I was born. It's true. And that's just how I've been since I was like 8 years old and I got my first computer and I read every single manual that came with it and just dove in as an eight year old. But that's just, yeah, and for me it's just this dream of like being able to live multiple lives, frankly. I love life. I love this life, but I also just love the idea of living in other spaces with different rules and different being able to explore. Like this is the new frontier, right? It's exciting. It's really exciting.
It is, and it's funny because like I I agree the spark is still there. What's ironic is in some ways this phase of work is actually like harder than when we were trying to survive. Because like when we're surviving, it's like your back is against the wall and it's like you know what you need to do to like stay alive. I think now it's hard is like our own ambition is pushing us, and our ambition exceeds what we're able to do every day, and like that hurts. it's
Yeah.
hard it's hard to be like, oh, I want to do this thing.
Can I share a little bit of what Nick's been pushing on with the video stuff?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Can you?
I don't know. Can I?
We better
Can
wait.
you?
We better wait.
Might want to wait. We've been playing with video. We've been playing with image.
Just dropped a
We're always
teaser
trying
that
to push the
everyone's gonna be
boundaries,
dying
right?
for.
And there's stuff that we can't do yet because the technology's not there. The technology's still building with us. But we have this vision of just like, oh my gosh, it's getting there. And it's so fun. And it's so exciting.
Yeah, yeah. So 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 as we were kind of growing, we started hiring, and I'll say that our first few hires, um, we made a few good hires, but not all of them went very well. And hiring has been a challenge, and part of it is because of how, um, again, we talked a little bit before about like what we're doing is unique and unprecedented. So we can't just go look at another company and say, ah, there's another company like Latitude, and if we just hire somebody from there, they'll know what we're working on. We're at a really bizarre cross section between tech and AI and game design and platform, and there's all these like different patterns that we use and we're kind of putting into our company, but there's not like one single industry that has all the skills that we're doing. The other hard thing is like we with I mean this is there's so much that's unprecedented, and you need a very unique skill set to thrive here at Latitude. We've had some people struggle, honestly. You have to be able to operate in a situation that's vague and undefined sometimes. You have to be able to switch direction. You have to be accountable and be an owner. And that was hard. We hired some people who were industry veterans, and we found that sometimes people that worked a long time at a bigger organization didn't do well in the startup environment. Um, so we've had a little bit of a struggle, but as time has gone on, as we've said, we don't like making the same mistake twice. We have tried to double down and figure out how do we do hiring right at Latitude, because a big part of what we're trying to do is we're trying to build the right team to build the product for our players. And in some ways, like we need to spend as much time on our hiring craft as we do in our engineering craft and our design craft to make sure that we have the right team in place. And that's really, really, really hard, especially for David. You mentioned like the team is younger and inexperienced. We hadn't figured out our hiring patterns, and so mistakes were made, and that's been difficult. As you said, like we try to not be jerks, and it's hard with hiring because families are involved and it's just people's livelihood, and that can be a really painful thing. But we've started to figure a few things out, um, and that's helping us to build a very small, talent dense team. We want everyone on this team to push each other. We want everyone on this team to be high performing. We want to stay small. It allows the coordination to happen easier. But anyway, it's getting tricky. So
The, There's a great question in chat of just like, how do you hire people for a thing that hasn't existed, right? And that has been a big question in our minds, and we feel like we're figuring that out, right, Devin?
Yeah, yeah, and maybe this is a good time to turn to Wyatt to because we've been working on we have a hiring philosophy that helps us to hire people for a thing that hasn't existed. I wonder why is this a good time for is
Yeah,
that enough of a
yeah.
softball for you?
I think so. I was a little worried that people were just going to want to know teasers at this point and not want to know about team stuff anymore. But yeah, no, we'll give the people what they want. No, it's a great question. So traditional hiring tends to be a lot of like, okay, you look at their resume, have they done this cool stuff? Awesome. Looks like they're, qualified on paper. You have some interviews, and then usually it's just like, cool, can we jive with them? Do we like think that they're going to be able to give us like the success? And, then you just hire them, right? It was very interesting because when I was like talking and interviewing with Latitude, I think it was Ryan who was telling me, he was like, yeah, so like our head of QA, like, used to be like a physical therapist and all this stuff, and like we've hired like a linguist on our team, and just like people that came from these like very unconventional routes. And I was like, oh, that's really interesting. And he's like, yeah, they've done great, like it's been amazing. And so I was like starting to lean in. I'm like, okay, there's something more to that. And kind of as David and Devin hinted, we've kind of developed like a trait based hiring philosophy. Like no one can predict like the future of an employee, right? So we're not by any means saying we found the secret code and like hiring solved forever, right? But we have found some way to identify, patterns and things of that nature for people, which we feel has given us a better indicator of potential future success. So like I was saying, a lot of hiring is skill based, and we've tried to instead like flip that on its head and focus more on the traits that someone possesses, right? So going through learning about your background, learning about like, hey, like, what things did you struggle with at that company? What things did you do really well with? What things like do you aspire to? And then naturally you start to pull some of these traits out. Maybe I'll read some of them and then talk about them a little bit. So like low ego, curiosity, signs of greatness, systems thinker, obsessive builder, product judgment, and then mission driven owner. Um, there's so many like things to talk about on these. What I would say, like, one of the things I've learned is like signs of greatness, for example. Like you just see people that like they don't just like show up to work and then they do their work really well and then they just leave. Like signs of greatness is also like people who have like, participated in hackathons and won them and like built businesses and were like athletes at like top competitive levels, and like there's so many things. Some guys on our team like were e-gamers that like placed really highly in competitions, and then one guy on our team like had a YouTube channel with like over 100,000 subscribers. Devin, I think you were gonna jump in there, say something.
uh yeah, I think this one is interesting because I think we all know people like this. There's people where no matter where they go, success just seems to follow them, and it doesn't matter if it's in the same domain or if it's in a different domain. Like they just find a way to be successful, and you can just sort of see the evidence of that everywhere they go. And chances are, if they've been successful in one area, they'll be successful in another area. And on the flip side, why you talked about like skills based hiring. Another version of that is experience based hiring. Where you're hiring somebody based on what company they've been at and how long they've been there and how long have they been in the job. That actually doesn't tell you that much. And a lot of times you'll see people that have had a lot of experience, but you don't see the signs of greatness. You don't see them, having these crazy outcomes or doing these really um, interesting things. And so that makes this has definitely been one of the more interesting traits that we've done is looking for these signs of greatness.
Yeah, no, absolutely, I agree. And it again, like all these things combined really just come down to like a kind of a formula for future success is what we're leaning into. Um, Another one I should say that I find really fun is like obsessive builder. Just talking to people, they're like, "Hey, like, what do you do? Like when you get off work, or just in your free time, or what are you building? Like, what are you enjoying?" And it doesn't always have to be like software either, right? But it's cool. Someone on our team like created one of the very first. I think it was like a Minecraft agent, if I'm not mistaken, that got like over 5,000 like stars on GitHub. And we also had someone built a Skyrim mod and like was telling me how they have like a huge like bunch of people that still use that like Skyrim mod till today. I'm like, man, like that's just awesome. Like it's fun to see because building puts yourself in just like a completely different mindset, right? It's no longer just like how do I do this one single function? It's cool, how do I understand everything from the top down, and how do I make sure all these like systems interwork within each other? Kind of like what we were talking about earlier, with like all these complex systems just like intermingling and making sure they flow smoothly and all that. So yeah, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
builders got to build. That's the thing. Like, I think we've all like, if for anyone who's worked at a large company or organization, there's people who don't actually like creating and creating value, and so there, I I hate to pick on like middle management, but this happens a lot in middle management. There's people that are distant from actually doing anything that actually provides value to their company and customers. But here we feel like everyone should be able to create something, whether it's a design, whether it's copy, whether it's code. It doesn't matter. Like people should just be obsessively building, and um, you just see those uh, you just see those traits in people. There's somebody. I'm not going to out them, but I was talking to somebody once, and they were saying, "Oh, I really want to I really want to build this app. I really want to build this thing." And I remember just looking him in the eyes. And I said, "You know what? I don't think you're ever going to do it because I don't think like you're not an obsessive builder." I said, if you really wanted to do it, you would do it. And the reason I said that is because like as I look around our company, every single person is built in something, and that's how they solve their problems. I mean, it's not even just like code or design or whatever. It's like you talk to somebody, and David I know is like every time I talk to David, he's got some sort of like, oh, I'm putting this pad in for a hot tub, or I'm doing, uh, I'm rebuilding my family room. I mean, a lot of this stuff that's even behind you, David. I know that like if like you went and built, and
Yeah, I built this room.
yeah,
Put in those windows, put it, put in that.
yeah, and you could go around the company, you could, and you'd get the same thing. Like I put this together, I'm doing that together. We just have a team of builders, and that translates into how we solve problems at Latitude for AI Dungeon and for Voyage. It's like you got to have somebody who sees a problem and immediately goes, "I can fix that. I can take care of it." And we don't want people that are sitting back and wanting someone else to build for them. Like you have to love the building because we are doing a lot of building.
Or thinking that they're pigeonholed. Like a lot of people, I think they get into this is my education, this is my skill set, this is what I do, right? And they kind
Yeah.
of box themselves into that place where I think we're looking for people who they don't there's no box. Like I can learn anything. I can build anything. I can do anything. Just all I need is the tools and off I go, right? Like and even without the tools, I'll go make my own freaking tools, and just I'm gonna make
Yeah.
stuff happen, right?
Yep.
yeah,
Yeah,
it
it does need to be paired, and it's interesting because like we have two other traits that I think balance this trait. One of them is product judgment, and the other is systems thinking, because there are some people who also love to build, but just build a bunch of crap. And um, as much as we love builders and we appreciate builders, we also want great things also.
True.
And so that's why one of the traits we call product judgment. It's the ability to understand where there's value, and also be able to understand like what things are worth spending time building. Because I remember we interviewed a front end engineer once who we actually thought was really intelligent and smart. Um, and then we got into a part where we were talking about um, they wanted to build like an installer for a web app for like iOS and Android. And we were like, why would we do that? Like we already have like native apps, and um, and the we even asked him like, so tell us what why you think we should do that. He's like, because it'd be cool. And immediately I was like, ooh, because it would be cool is a horrible sign of that is not a good sign of like
It's a
good
red
product
flag.
judgment. Like is it solving a need? Is it helping the business? Is it providing more value to players? Is it solving a real problem? Like that's the kind of stuff that you have to have with product judgment. And like because it would be cool is not the answer
And
that you
sometimes
want to give.
cool does
Yeah.
equate, right? Sometimes it can, but you
Sure.
have to have more of a vision than it's just cool, right?
I mean, there are a lot of things that are high on the product judgment that are very cool, but you have to be able to articulate like um, you have to
How does it
you got to have
actually
more
bring?
depth than that. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. Cool is a very surface level
that's right.
expletive.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, I've even had to like I've asked people to like break down like their favorite product for me, and like it's really interesting when you like hear like, oh, like I love like Google Maps, and then they like break it down to like such like distinct like small levels that I didn't even think about, right? And so like that's where I think the product judgment like trait becomes very strong when it's like you can not only think about a product as the product, but then break it down into small pieces and say like because of X, Y, and Z thing, this is what makes it great. And I'm like, oh wow, like that. For those of you out there listening, thinking about your product judgment skill, I think that's definitely a good one. Um,
yeah. Well, and
Go
to
ahead.
that point, the ability to break down why something matters is important. I remember in my first job, I remember I designed something. My background is UX design, so that was kind of like my first career. And I remember I redesigned some page and I went and took it to the it was a solutions manager. This is old days when we had those. I was like, here you go, here's the new design, and he's like, great. Why should we do this? And I was like, because it's better. And he's like, how? I was like, I mean, look at it. It's obviously better. And he's just like, I maybe, maybe. And I just remember like I just remember going like, oh, things are not just always self-evident. Like you have to be able to explain it. You have to be able to articulate it. You have to be able to like break down like what are you solving? How is it being solved better? That was a that was an important moment for me because like every time since then it's like okay, if I'm going to present something to somebody, I need to have a really good reason why we're doing it, how it's going to help them, what difference it's going to make. Um, it can't just be because I think it's cool or I think it's better or I think it's interesting. It needs to be solving something real for people.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Another thing that I think is probably worth spending some time on in this is just like the why of Latitude. I spent, I think, 4 years hiring for just companies in an agency and environment where I just get contracted by a whole bunch of different companies and just represent them. And I have to say, like, Latitude has like the ultimate like recipe for success, if you will. It's like profitable company. We're in like a really cool cutting edge space. For those that like a small team, like it's a very small, like just you have a lot of ability to wear a lot of hats type of environment. But like stripping away all that, I think the most important thing is I've talked with every single member of the team and they all say the same thing that they truly feel like we have something special here. Just like I'm still kind of like a stranger. I've only been here, a few months, right? But like I've really felt like the arm like come around me and like, people are willing to be real with you and like express like true emotions and like how they feel about these things rather than it just being like a corporate like let's put on our suit and ties and like I'll show up to the meetings and just like get through the day type of thing. Um
I
and it's
even
kind of
think we don't
crazy.
have a lot of tolerance for that. Like it's
Yeah.
because I think, and this is the great thing because leadership does have to lead out in this, right? If leadership doesn't lead out and leadership is worried about like protecting their image, protecting, not making mistakes or not showing that they make mistakes, then it kind of sets the tone for the rest of the company. And so we've been really fortunate that we've had people, Nick is a great example, and we're blessed to have him as a CEO because he will show up and he will make mistakes and he will own it. He does not blame other people. He's and that sets the tone and the mood for the whole company. And I think that's it's huge, and it's really hard to achieve, right? Because the human nature is we want to protect that ego. We want to protect you know, that image that we have of ourselves, and we have fear that if we don't show up perfect, then that's going to mean that we're not enough in some way, right? And so all of these things compound into what we see in normal corporate America, of just like this ladder where we're fighting our way to the top.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
some of it too is like, um, I think we just like, I think many of us as individuals, like this is one of the things that was nice about having a small team is we're able to kind of infuse some of our own like individual, uh, I don't know what you'd call it, opinions into the team culture. Because like I think a lot of us have just an absolute allergy to any sort of crap that doesn't help us make good stuff. Like, like I know that Ryan and Nick and like myself, it's like unnecessary meetings. Like, please no politics. If somebody's politicking, like, are you kidding me? Like, why? Like, I think all of us, like, genuinely at the end of the day, like, the thing that we care about is we want to work with great people and we want to make great stuff. And if anything is getting in the way of that, like, it just immediately feels out of place here because we just have like such an allergy for it. And it's just, like if someone does it, it's like, ew, what are you doing? Like, are you try like if someone's trying to kingdom build or politic or have an ulterior motive, and it's like, what? No, that's not gonna it's not gonna fly because like at the end of the day, that is one nice thing about our team is like I think everybody is so unified in wanting to make a great product for our players, both AI Dungeon and Voyage. And at the end, and like outside of that, like it doesn't matter. Like it doesn't matter who's proposing an idea. If it's the right thing to do, we do it. It doesn't matter if it's proposed by Nick. It doesn't matter if it's proposed by QA. It doesn't matter if it's proposed by someone in the community. It's like if it's a good idea, we will do it. And likewise, um, it doesn't matter if leadership has an awesome idea that they love and think is cool. If it's wrong, we're gonna veto it. And anyone at the company can veto. Well, not veto, but can offer critique on an idea, and it's going to be considered. We talk a lot about here, like we talk about this idea of idea meritocracy, where it's not about rank of of title or position. It's like the quality of the ideas, the depth of the thinking. You know, have we thought about all the kind of complex systems? Have we thought about our players? Have we thought about the values it can bring to them? Is it going to solve a real problem? Is it going to distract us from something that could be better and more important that could give even more value? And as we kind of evaluate all this stuff against that, the rest doesn't matter. And why you brought up another one of our traits that we care about is low ego. That's why that trait is so important, is because if you're here because you want to have like, I want my ideas to be the best all the time, and I want to build myself up, it's not going to fly because your ideas are going to get shot down a ton. They just are.
Yeah.
Um,
Come ready to fail like a lot.
that's
Because
right.
if you don't, like, well, and it's a subject to you like actually trying to succeed somewhere that the playbook hasn't been written as well, because there is no right answer, right? So we have to be willing to like throw out all the like wrong answers, and maybe it takes you 10 wrong answers to get to that one right answer. So yeah, like I feel like that's such an important like concept that we believe in, is the idea of meritocracy for that reason.
Yeah, but it's hard though, and we actually have a lot of people struggle with it because um, idea meritocracy doesn't mean anyone's ideas are just going to be accepted. It actually means that everyone's ideas are considered, but man, are we going to beat them up, and we do. And I think it can be a little bit disarming when people come in because they'll like propose something, and those proposals may have been accepted in a previous role, but we expect a high level of rigor. We expect things to be thought through in great detail and consider things, and then we kind of dig in. And sometimes people kind of comment like, "Man, you guys just really don't listen to feedback." It's like, "Oh, we're listening to feedback, but we just expect it to be really, really good." They also don't see that like me and Nick and Ryan like often are just killing each other. Like with our own
Yeah.
ideas, you know, we'll pitch something, we just get beat up, and that's okay. Like it makes the idea stronger, it makes the concept stronger. It's like you have to do that. But that is one thing we see people struggle with when they come in, is they're not ready for the rigor that we put into our strategy, the things that we're going to work on, what goes onto the roadmap and doesn't. It's tough.
Yeah.
um I,
That's part of
Guys,
that
I
low
gotta. I'm
ego.
gonna jump really quick. I gotta go jump to another meeting. But
Okay, cool.
Sounds
yeah,
good.
thank
Thanks,
you
Wyatt.
Thanks,
guys.
Wyatt.
Great to see everyone.
Yeah, that's a big part of that low ego is being able to take feedback, right? Is just you know, you throw out an idea, and if and you just expect that somebody's going to have some hard feedback, and honestly, like if you're a fit for this company, you look forward to that. Like you relish that feedback because it's like that's how you improve, right?
Yeah,
It's how you become a better person. It's how the product, how AI Dungeon, how Voyage, that's how it gets better. If we don't have that feedback, then we're just throwing, you know, we're throwing cool ideas, you know, out that might be interesting to a couple people, but ultimately, you know, if we're going to really get this out there in a way that's going to be valuable for a lot of people, it's got to have that feedback.
it does. I it's funny, like as I'm sitting here, I was like, I'm trying to think of a um I imagine you probably have something that you were really excited about that got shot down. I wouldn't even be able to tell you like an idea that you pitched that got shot down, because I don't know, just kind of like moves on through. But like, do you have any that you were like excited about that didn't make it?
Oh, I know I have. The thing is, I hold so loosely to my ideas, that and really, we were talking about like all of the ups and downs at Latitude, and really the only reason I think I'm still here is because I hold my ideas, and my I hold that loosely, and I'm really ready to like take that feedback, and that's helped allowed me to morph with the company because we've changed a lot at Latitude. Things have changed a ton over time, and the only
Yeah,
reason I've survived. We've had layoffs. We've been up to 30-person team and then back down to 8, right? And the only reason I've survived that is because I've had that plasticity of being
yeah,
able to take that feedback over time. And so I know for a fact that I've had things that have been shut down and whatnot, but I frankly don't remember them because they don't hit me hard because that's just who I am, right?
yeah. No, that's fair. That makes sense, and that's probably why like I have a hard time even thinking of any, because I don't think of it
Because you
like
don't
that.
take it hard. You're like, this is great, right? Like I'm glad
Yeah,
my idea got shut down because yeah, it was a bad idea, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, that makes sense. I did see. So we had um, well, I could talk about these traits all day, as you can tell. I could get a little fired up. I love
Yeah,
partially
you
because
could.
we
It's great.
partially because we've had a lot of both good and bad experiences with people who've done well in these, and the people haven't done well with them. So there's stories to tell. But we did get questions around how big the team is. So we may even want to just talk a little bit about how the team is set up and structured. Um, and I don't even know the exact numbers. I think we're up to about 30 full-time employees now.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and
yeah.
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I think last I checked we were at like 28 full time, but then we have a whole bunch of contractors, and I think we have some people who are like in between that. Um, yeah, so we might be up to 30 now, but we're
Yeah,
we're around that.
30-ish at least. And so we're split up into our teams. The teams that we have are they sort of kind of form as needed. Right now we have kind of two main development teams. One is the team that's working on Voyage, and then the other is the platform team. And platform is, we like this content discovery and creator tools and AI Dungeon, and kind of the user generated content side, as well as stability and infrastructure and that. And they also handle a lot of like support and moderation, those things. Then we have the Voyage team that's working on the latest engine. We have some other teams as well. We have an operations team that handles things like HR and finance and legal. Um, and then we have our community team that handles, community management, the safety and moderation stuff. We've got growth, obviously things like live streams and social media, all that kind of stuff. Launch communications, things like that. That's all the community side. Um, I would say that right now we're probably about, I'm making up numbers. Tell me what you think. But I think we probably have about like 60% of the company as engineers, um, maybe closer to 75%. And uh, we have a couple designers, and but we're pretty engineering heavy. And those engineers are split across different disciplines. We have some people that are more back end. We have some that are more front end. We have some that are specialized in AI, whether it's AI research or AI training. There's there's coverage on a number of different fronts, but that's kind of the general makeup of the team and some of the kind of disciplines that we have. Anything that you'd add to that?
Yeah, I mean, something you're saying just different disciplines, and yeah, people do kind of have their expertise, their place, but it's interesting how like anybody can kind of take something and run with it, right? And we just kind of have that type of person in our company where, you know, I'm actually a finance major, right? So that's my background is in finance, and granted, I'm a tech enthusiast, so that's where my tech background comes from. Is just like I did coding for fun as a kid. You know, that was my fun thing. So I didn't want to go to school for that. Why would I do that? That would ruin it for me. So so I did I didn't, um and that's just kind of that's just to demonstrate that like it people in this company, like if you see something and you want to do it, you want to create it, you want to make it, like that's just go do it, you know. And sometimes, and we obviously have like our things that we're assigned to, and we, you know, you're expected to take ownership over a certain part of something in the company, but that's more where it is we expect people to take ownership, right? And you take ownership of your, and how, but how you accomplish that, how you build that, how you create that, how you make things happen, you know. um People learn from we learn from each other, and we've got people, I mean, Devin's you're technically not a developer, but man, have you been pushing code? You know, right? Like it's and that's just the kind of people that we have. It's like, yeah, I don't do that yet, but here I come. Watch out. You know, I'm going to make things happen.
Yeah, and that's maybe even worth calling out is like, especially with, I think one thing that's changing is with AI. Um, People who haven't been developers are probably going to be shipping code, because, and I think we're moving to a place where like almost every individual will probably be building things. Even so, like the community team is, I lead the community team, and without exception, every person on that team has come in not doing coding and engineering. And right now, I think almost every single one of them has been. We talked about, we had Tim on recently, as our content moderator, and he's been. I remember when I first started working with him, he hadn't even opened up a code editor before, and we were, having him use AI and stuff for moderation. And now he's actually been pushing features to improve the moderation process. We've got Ben and Wilmar, who are building all kinds of cool stuff. Um,
Yeah,
and
they're
so
going crazy.
they've all been kind of moving up that ladder of like didn't do it, but now they're doing really really well. And like a good example with Wilmar or Kevin, like our surveys. I mean, he's turned them not only just into like great surveys, but now he has all this like processing on the back end, these reports that are being generated. And it's all based on these tools that he's building. So, that's going to become something that's more and more uh, important in the future. And so I think that's going to change the makeup of who we look for as well, because now like the ability to build, the ability to kind of have good product judgment is even more important, because it's so we like now it's going to get easier and easier to build things. So we need people who have that sense of judgment, that capability. Um, there is a question that we missed in the stream. I want to make sure we get to. Let's see, it's back
I
a little
mean,
bit.
there's the
So
everlasting question of how long before Voyage is released. But we're getting there, guys. We're
we
getting
are.
there.
So okay, going back a little bit. Um, from Cut Lumizrax. Man, sorry, I butchered that. Says, I have a serious question. If low ego idea of rigorously discussing all ideas is how things go, how does anyone really get past who interviews, where that method is not only discussed but dinged down for being non-leadership material? So I think the question here is like, I think when you're in a job interview, you're trying to um, showcase the best side of yourself, and that may be counterproductive to our
What we're looking
trait
for.
of low
Yeah.
ego. I think that's what the question is asking. Feel free to clarify your question if I'm interpreting that wrong. That's my take on the question, and it's a good question. It's interesting because having been through a number of these interviews, it's so this who interview. This is a method that we pulled from a book that we tried for a while, where we actually do these very long reviews of people's careers. And what's interesting in those is, like, at some point, like, people can't put on a front for that long. And as you ask more and more and more detailed questions about things, the veneer, you kind of get through the veneer and you get into the kind of who people are. And part of it is, part of it is just being very curious. And one of the things that we've learned with great people is that the deeper you dig into, the deeper you go into the details, the more impressive they become. And so, like, with ego, it's actually the same way. Ego is hard to hide, and even if people are talking about the great things that they do, you can tell the people who are you can still tell who's high ego versus not. Like, someone could talk about their accomplishments in a way that still shows humility and still shows a willingness to learn and adapt and adjust. A lot of it is just, sometimes it's even just about self-awareness. We've seen that, like we don't expect anyone to be incredible at everything. And often the people who are the lowest ego are willing to kind of talk about the boundaries of where their skills are, and where they're great and where they're not. You know, yeah, like I don't know. I'm laughing because I'm, like, thinking about how I would answer our own interview questions. And, like, I've got some skeletons that would be like, man, I can do these things really well. Don't ask me to do this stuff because I think I would be horrible.
Yeah.
But those sorts of things shows up in the way that they give credit to people they work with. It also shows up in if mistakes are made, do they blame people? Do they take accountability? Do they go external? Like, you can see ego show up in a lot of different ways, and even if people are putting on their best front, which we expect, and that's totally fine, we have grown to see it. And part of it is just experience of working with people who are who are low ego. When you're around high ego, it stands out. So anyway,
It's pretty clear when
manifests.
somebody's performing. Like, it becomes pretty obvious when you're performing versus just being authentic. It's really, I think that's basically what you're saying, Devin, is like, over time, somebody who's performing, it just becomes very clear that they're performing, and they're not just being real with you and
Yeah.
talking to you. You might be able to hide that for 15 minutes, but really, kind of beyond that, it becomes pretty obvious pretty quick.
Yeah. Yeah. And one thing that is, one of the other one of the other traits that we care about is curiosity. And, like, for better or worse, we have a team that is very curious. And part of being very curious means we know how to ask questions, and we want to ask questions. We're going to ask questions. We get into the details of things. And, one thing I've, like, having been through interviews myself, I think most interviews that I've been on, like, that I've kind of had job interviews for, I'm kind of surprised sometimes how shallow they are. Like, oh, what'd you do here? And what'd you do there? Okay, that makes sense. Cool. sounds great. Um, the interviews that we get into here are just much more detailed and not in like a scary way, because I think great talent actually loves it. Like we talk about like obsessive builders and we talk about like, systems thinkers. If you go ask anyone, if you ask an obsessive builder about something they've worked on and you get into the details of it, like they cannot wait to tell about it. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
finally someone cares, someone's interested.
Well,
And
that's fun versus there's a lot of interviews out there that I think are expiring, frankly. That it's just a test. You go take a test and they're like testing your knowledge. And the thing is like that's obsolete at this point. I can go ask an AI, XYZ and have an answer faster than I probably could have recalled it
yeah,
in my own head. And so it's obsolete. Why are we doing this? What we care about is somebody's initiative. We care about somebody's, you know, their their desire, you know, yeah,
yeah. Well, and the great thing is because as we've come to realize these traits, I think it's been helping us to have a much higher success rate with who we hire and who is able to remain on the team, um, which is great because that means the future of Latitude, which includes AI Dungeon and Voyage, both of those are, I think, the future is in a much stronger place, because of the team, and we really see that the product is the result of having a really good team. So the stronger we can make the team, the stronger we know that the product is. Because as great as I think Nick and Ryan are in terms of the ideas they have and the decisions that they can make, uh, that doesn't scale forever. We need strong team members all across the company, because that just multiplies how much we can do if we have more great talent. So
yeah,
uh, that's how it is.
yeah. Well, it's fun to see how excited everybody is about Voyage. We are definitely excited about it, and yeah, we can't wait to get it out to everybody. We're working a lot. I mean, our offsite last week, man, it was pretty insane how much we got done, and we continue to get done this week, carrying that over, and it's coming. I'm excited.
Yeah, it has been a lot of work.
We're not quite ready to commit to a date just because we need to make sure it's ready, right? Like I think that's the important thing, and I think anybody who's been around, especially in the gaming industry for very long, understands the value of a company that's willing to be like, hey, we're not going to say a date. We want to make sure we ship it when it's ready.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. It's true. We care and we want it to be good, and it
Yeah,
will be. It will be. But we got some work to do still. We
we
got a little
do.
work to do, but we are getting close. We
We are
we
getting
we have
close. Can't
we
wait.
have internal dates. We have not shared them externally yet. We think we're going to hit them. We've said that we're going to be able to release in the first half of this year. I still think even if our internal dates slipped a little bit, we're still going to be within that first half. Um, Gosh, that was a big clue right there. Um, Look at me just dropping things. So anyway, I think that's all, and I think we've probably addressed most of the questions that we had there. So really appreciate everyone joining. David, any last thoughts before we kind of sign off? I know we've been talking about a few things, but any other thoughts you want to share on team or working at Latitude or anything like that? This is your moment.
Oh my gosh. I mean, it's so fun, and I just feel so much gratitude that I'm still here. I'm still able to be on the team. We've seen a lot of people come and go, and I just feel yeah, I just feel blessed, and to have a great community and something so fun to work on. I mean, every day getting to work on Voyage and AI Dungeon and everything we're building is just it's just a joy. And so I'm grateful to be here. I'm grateful to have everybody who's watching here, and this yeah, this has been a lot of fun to participate in a stream again. It's been a while. I've really gone more into the coding side of the company, and I love it. I love doing code, and I love building. That is definitely where I think I'm the most valuable at this point. You know, who knows? I can always shift, um, but it's fun. Yeah,
Yeah.
good to see you again. Um, I think Will's there, and we got some other people that I recognize, and it's yeah, it's fun. It's fun to see people.
Yeah. Well, it's good to get you out of the code cave every now and then. We can send you back and take away the lights and the windows and let you start cranking out code again. But it was
Yeah, I've got
yeah.
a lot to do. I've got a project to get done by tomorrow. Uh,
Yeah.
so
Well, cool. Really appreciate you joining us, David, and thanks as well to Wyatt for coming in and talking about some of our hiring process. And yeah, give us feedback on this one. This is a little bit different than we normally do. If you like hearing about the team, if you like hearing about our interview process, let us know if this is something you want us to go into more detail. We could talk about some of the traits more. We could talk about more of the type of roles that we're looking at. We could talk more about the team structure. Be interested to hear if any of this has been, if any of it has been interesting, and if so, which parts have been interesting, and we can go into more detail. So appreciate all of you. We'll see you all next time.